A recent exchange of excoriations between several unimpressive Orthobros and a collection of edgy teenage atheists who happen to be 30 has exposed the need for a competent response to vitalism. The origins of the quarrel scarcely matter. Internet disputes begin over trivialities. Then enough men with marble avatars arrive, and within 4 hours the ownership of Western civilization is somehow at stake. The Orthobros answered with moral alarm. This was a mistake. Moral alarm gives the vitalist precisely what he wants. It allows him to appear dangerous. Denunciation supplies a scale that his actual influence cannot. A man who commands no organization, attracts no loyalty, and inspires no confidence can resemble a civilizational menace once frightened opponents place him beneath sufficiently dramatic lighting. Turn on the ordinary lights. The menace becomes a 30-year-old man attempting to establish an aristocracy through podcast appearances. His rebellion against inherited morality leads directly to a supplement shop. His theory of human excellence attracts an audience that needs 4 hours to explain why nobody likes them. This is why a serious response must resist the temptation to become an apologetic. Vitalism does not require a theological refutation before breakfast. It should first be judged by its own claims. It promises hire men. Fine. Produce one. The movement advertises vitality through people whose chief accomplishment is maintaining an elevated heart rate while reading replies. It praises hierarchy, yet each adherent considers himself the natural superior of anyone capable of correcting him. It praises selection while gathering personalities that any competent selection process would remove before lunch. The vitalist speaks constantly about strength, yet strength leaves consequences. Someone becomes safer, a burden gets carried, disorder recedes. A difficult task reaches completion because one man possessed the discipline to remain at his post. Strength is visible through what it sustains. The vitalist prefers the description of strength. He speaks its vocabulary. He wears its costume. He arranges the lighting. He purchases the microphone. Then, nothing happens. A civilization devoted to appearances will always produce men who confuse the signs of an excellence with the excellence itself. The uniform begins to believe it contains a general. The library card starts issuing opinions about Plato. The podcast microphone mistakes electrical current for authority. Vitalism is one expression of this confusion. It promises a recovery of human grandeur after decades of managed softness. This diagnosis attracts serious people because part of it is true. Modern life often does reward passivity. Prestige has become detached from merit. Bureaucracies protect incompetence. Public speech is crowded with timid euphemisms. Institutions once charged with forming character now treat discomfort as a manufacturing defect. Any movement that names these failures will attract attention. People are hungry for a language of agency. They sense that modern society asks them to endure consequences while forbidding them from exercising command. They are told to be responsible, though every meaningful decision has already been routed through a committee. Vitalism enters this vacuum and speaks of rank, strength, beauty, excellence, and the higher man. Then it selects its representatives through self-nomination. There lies the joke. The relevant question is remarkably ordinary. Can these men attract loyalty outside their enclosure? Can they inspire confidence in people who have never read Nietzsche? Can they enter a room without making everyone feel that the evening has developed a hostage situation? Can they govern anything besides a group chat? The answer explains why vitalism remains online. Its Superman has arrived. Nobody noticed. The average vitalist possesses many theories of power and almost none of its atmosphere. He can explain dominance for 90 minutes. He cannot make a waiter comfortable. Every encounter becomes an opportunity to establish rank. Every disagreement becomes a referendum on human excellence. He cannot tell a harmless story without turning it into evidence of superior breeding. 10 minutes in his company leaves strangers checking whether the fire exit is alarmed. This is poor social calibration wearing a laurel wreath. Charisma is the missing organ. The term is often misunderstood because people associate it with charm, beauty, theatrical confidence, or the ability to dominate a conversation. Those qualities can accompany charisma. They can also conceal its absence. Charisma is the power to make other people feel that following you will improve their prospects. A charismatic man reduces uncertainty. His presence tells the room that some burden has acquired a bearer. People trust his judgment before he gives an order because they have seen him govern himself. He remembers what others need. He knows when to speak. He can absorb embarrassment without turning it into vengeance. His confidence creates space for other people to act. The vitalist raises uncertainty. People around him begin measuring their words. A casual remark may become material for a lecture on decadence. A disagreement may be interpreted as an uprising of the herd. A woman who declines his attention becomes proof that female nature has collapsed sometime since the invention of central heating. His presence does not make the crisis smaller. It creates several new crises, all wearing sunglasses. Charisma leaves evidence. People return calls. Invitations arrive without being demanded. Capable men disclose difficult problems because they expect useful judgment. Women relax because power appears governed rather than hungry. Younger men seek counsel without being bullied into discipleship. The vitalist usually leaves screenshots. His influence exists among men who already share his vocabulary. They assure one another that ordinary people resist them because ordinary people fear excellence. This is a pleasant arrangement. Every failed interaction proves elevation. Every closed door becomes a heraldic emblem. Every woman who loses interest becomes another casualty of modernity. One uglier possibility remains untouched. People may avoid them because they are tedious. A movement centered upon vitality should produce men whose company feels like an enlargement of life. One would expect warmth, daring, humor, physical ease, and a generous abundance of spirit. Instead, Vitalism has produced a speaking style reminiscent of a disciplinary hearing conducted inside a protein shop. Its followers discuss greatness with the warmth of customs officials examining undeclared fruit. No philosophy can survive forever upon advertised qualities that its adherents visibly lack. A bodybuilder may display strength, a scholar may display learning, a businessman may display competence, yet none of these alone grants the power to move human beings. The vitalist has assembled the uniform. The army keeps walking past him. This brings us to his most ruinous strategic error, self-coronation. The fastest way to discredit a claim to aristocracy is to make it yourself. Rank once described relationships that existed beyond the title holder's imagination. An aristocrat possessed recognized standing. His name carried obligations. His failures disgraced people besides himself. Dependents relied upon his judgment. Rivals had to account for his position. Rank created pressure. It subjected the bearer to scrutiny because other people had something invested in his performance. The self-declared aristocrat has escaped this inconvenience. No superior confirms him. No dependent relies upon him. No rival must negotiate with him. He receives the emotional privileges of superiority while avoiding its public tests. He has crowned himself in a jurisdiction consisting of one skull. This is a strategic blunder because aristocratic authority depends upon controlled distance. Rank loses force when the claimant must explain it. A man who repeatedly announces that he belongs to a natural elite resembles a restaurant with "fine dining" written in flashing red letters above the door. The declaration reveals anxiety about the evidence. Every claim invites an audit. Where are the followers? Where is the cultivated judgment? Where is the command of manners that permits a superior man to move among ordinary people without demanding incense? Where is the durable achievement that compels recognition from enemies? Usually, there is a photograph beside a statue. The pose attempts to borrow authority from marble. Marble, being ancient and patient, declines to comment. Real aristocracy involves burden before privilege. The lord of a household is answerable for its condition. The commander answers for the men he sends into danger. The master craftsman answers for the apprentice formed beneath his hand. Authority grows from a concrete relationship between judgment and consequence. This is stewardship. Its form can be found long before anyone begins speaking about politics. A father who stays awake with a sick child exercises a kind of command. So does the foreman who accepts blame when his crew makes a mistake. Their authority possesses weight because someone else's welfare rests upon it. The vitalist wants rank before stewardship. He desires the visible crown while treating dependence as an insult. The people beneath him are supposed to admire his greatness. Should they require patience, mercy, sacrifice, or protection, they become parasites. This produces a peculiar aristocrat. He wants servants, but regards service as humiliating. He demands loyalty, yet reserves the right to despise anyone loyal enough to need him. Such a man cannot establish order. He can only arrange spectators. Self-coronation also poisons recruitment. A political movement must offer newcomers some place within its structure. The vitalist instead welcomes them into a room where each man has declared himself the rarest human type. Nobody wishes to enlist in an aristocracy where every private expects to be emperor by Thursday. A durable elite is recognized through service at scale. Its members become difficult to replace because their judgment has acquired weight. They do not need to announce their altitude every morning. The self-declared aristocrat does. His crown keeps slipping because it was fitted by the customer. Politics belongs partly to ideas. Much of it belongs to people who can make others tolerate those ideas long enough to act upon them. This poses a grave problem for vitalism. Its average representative seems constitutionally incapable of making an unfamiliar person comfortable. He treats tact as deceit. Courtesy resembles surrender. Any attempt to moderate his speech becomes another attack by the herd upon greatness. The result is a movement that mistakes repulsion for awe. Ordinary people do not experience the vitalist as a dangerous aristocrat. They encounter a man who has converted unresolved resentment into a lecture series. He cannot ask a harmless question without steering the answer toward hierarchy. A discussion about rent eventually reaches biological caste. His audience interprets the discomfort as proof that a taboo has been broken. Most of the time, dinner has merely been spoiled. Charm matters because political life depends upon transmission. An idea must cross beyond its first enthusiasts. It must survive contact with people who possess different temperaments. It must reach the undecided through relationships in which nobody has agreed to spend 4 hours defining decadence. A charming man understands that other people possess inner lives. He can adjust without groveling. He can make a severe truth bearable through timing. He knows that persuasion requires attention to the listener. Confidence gives him enough interior room to notice someone besides himself. The vitalist's confidence consumes the room. This cannot be blamed upon hostile conditions. History contains men who advanced forbidden ideas because people found them magnetic. Their opponents attended speeches out of curiosity and left troubled, fascinated, sometimes half converted. These men made rebellion feel pleasurable. Vitalists make rebellion feel like unpaid technical support. Their lack of charm is especially damning because the movement presents itself as a cult of human excellence. Charm should be among its easiest proofs. Yet the adherent demands that others overlook his manners while recognizing his rank. He wants the privileges of refinement. He finds refinement effeminate. This failure becomes politically fatal when women enter the picture. Women frequently decide whether a male political enthusiasm becomes socially durable. They influence which men establish households. They carry reputations through ordinary networks of trust. They determine whether an eccentric collection of male ideas develops roots or remains 4 microphones above a folding table. A doctrine welcomed by young men, yet distrusted by women, can become loud. It rarely becomes settled. Vitalism inspires a particular form of female aversion because its adherents advertise appetite without demonstrating protection. A formidable man may be severe. His severity has boundaries. Women sense that his power answers to something beyond his mood. A crisis becomes smaller in his presence because he does not require the crisis to prove his importance. The vitalist often projects the reverse. He speaks obsessively about dominance because voluntary authority has eluded him. His contempt for weakness suggests that anyone who depends upon him will eventually become contemptible in his eyes. Women hear his praise of hierarchy and wonder how he behaves when someone beneath him needs mercy. That suspicion is reasonable. Authority reveals its character in the treatment of dependency. Any fool can appear magnanimous towards someone he needs to impress. The real test arrives when the weaker person has become inconvenient. A child is frightened. A wife is ill. A subordinate has failed. Someone cannot repay what has been given. At that moment, governed strength becomes visible. So does vanity. The vitalist praises the warrior. Yet the warrior's moral purpose lies in placing his body between danger and those unable to resist it. Without this orientation, strength becomes appetite with better posture. Women understand this distinction with remarkable speed. They may admire force while avoiding the man who advertises it most feverishly. They know the difference between governed force and theatrical appetite. One offers shelter. The other appears likely to start an argument with the hotel clerk. The usual excuse blames corrupted modern women. There are deep disorders in modern sexual culture. Anyone with eyes can see them, yet this diagnosis provides magnificent camouflage for a charmless man. When every rejected advance becomes evidence of civilizational collapse, no personal defect ever requires repair. The verdict becomes harsher when women with traditional instincts reach the same conclusion. They are not repelled by masculine strength. They are repelled by a man who speaks about strength because he cannot communicate safety. Female approval does not determine whether an argument is true. Political relevance asks a separate question. Can the movement reproduce itself through ordinary human bonds? Vitalism largely cannot. Its followers respond by intensifying the traits that cause the rejection. They become more contemptuous. They speak more loudly about female corruption. The campaign develops the strategic intelligence of poisoning a well and complaining that the village prefers beer. A movement that repels women can remain a content market. It cannot become a people. The content market is where vitalism appears most successful. This success reveals another weakness. Men who proclaim themselves unusually difficult to deceive are often being prepared for sale. Vitalism cultivates this customer with exquisite care. It tells him ordinary morality exists to restrain superior types. Social rejection proves his independence. Loneliness confirms his rarity. Distrust demonstrates that his eyes have opened. Then someone calls him king and sends the checkout link. The scam works because the product arrives wrapped in recognition. The buyer is acquiring more than supplements, coaching, or access to a private chat. He is purchasing confirmation that he belongs to the hidden elect. Skepticism from outsiders strengthens the appeal because outsiders have already been classified as members of the herd. The mark has been taught to treat warnings as endorsements. One can watch a man reject centuries of inherited wisdom as a conspiracy of the weak, then accept medical advice from a stranger photographing steak. He distrusts any authority that might humble him. He trusts nearly anyone who flatters his rank. The mechanism is almost beautiful. Humility offers a crude defense against fraud. A humble man can suspect that his judgment has been compromised. He knows appetite can disguise itself as insight. Vanity may select the evidence before reason has entered the room. The vitalist replaces humility with permanent suspicion. He detects manipulation everywhere, except in praise directed toward himself. His vanity has removed the lock from the inside. This susceptibility matters because discernment lies near the heart of leadership. A ruler who cannot identify flatterers becomes a public vending machine. Press the correct phrase and resources fall from the slot. The self-proclaimed higher man believes he has escaped mass persuasion. He has merely become exquisitely responsive to niche persuasion. The slogans are narrower. The machinery remains intact. He rejects the herd. Then he joins a paid community of men, congratulating one another for being impossible to herd. Billing recurs on the first of each month. There is a spiritual pattern beneath this comedy. Pride does not merely exaggerate a man's virtues. It corrupts his attention. The fathers of the church speak of the nous, which we may describe as the faculty of attention that desires the return to the center of the world. The healthy nous seeks the logos. It longs for reality in its proper order. It brings the passions beneath a higher love so the soul can perceive clearly. Pride installs a false center. The proud man cannot see another person without asking how that person confirms or threatens his rank. He cannot encounter correction as information. Correction becomes an assault upon the center of his world. This is why arrogance and gullibility so often appear together. The arrogant man seems skeptical because he rejects many authorities. Yet he does not reject them through disciplined judgment. He rejects whatever might dethrone the image he worships. Flattery approaches from the opposite direction. It confirms the false center. The proud man receives it as revelation. The spiritual discipline of nepsis, or watchfulness, begins with attention to these movements within the soul. What thought has entered? What appetite accompanies it? What image of myself is being offered? Why does this claim please me? Ascesis trains a man to refuse the immediate sweetness of self-deception. He learns to endure correction. He learns to distinguish insult from truth. He learns that discomfort may be the sound made by reality entering a locked room. This is why inherited religious discipline produces a sturdier conception of strength than vitalism. Fasting denies appetite the throne. Confession subjects self-image to judgment. Prayer returns attention toward the true center. Service places the needs of another person before the theater of rank. Each practice injures the counterfeit Superman. Good. He has been charging rent. Vitalism has developed an elegant explanation for its political insignificance. The age is decadent. The masses cannot recognize excellence. Women have lost their instincts. Established men feared genuine superiority. Every failure of recognition becomes evidence that recognition would have been worthless. The theory has no losing condition. If the vitalist attracts admiration, his rank has become visible. If he attracts contempt, his enemies have exposed their degeneracy. If he attracts nothing, silence proves that greatness has been suppressed. This arrangement converts obscurity into a moral victory. It also guarantees obscurity. A movement cannot correct weaknesses after every weakness has been renamed nobility. Social repulsion becomes aristocratic distance. Incompetence becomes refusal to participate in corrupt systems. An inability to cooperate becomes ferocious independence. Reality submits an invoice. The vitalist calls it slave morality. Superior men do sometimes go unrecognized. History is untidy. Yet a whole movement of allegedly superior men should eventually produce visible effects. Someone should found an organization that survives his moods. Someone should acquire authority outside the audience. Someone should inspire loyalty without first explaining why loyalty is owed. The persistent absence of such evidence demands interpretation. Perhaps the Superman has been suppressed by forces of unimaginable reach. Perhaps his account has been shadow banned by the custodians of modernity. Perhaps every attractive woman has been brainwashed by consumer capitalism. Perhaps he lacks charisma. That final explanation possesses a ruthless economy. It accounts for the empty room without requiring a civilizational conspiracy against a man who sells coaching calls. Vitalists confuse being unseen with being hidden. The distinction is brutal. Hidden greatness lies beneath obstruction. Unseen mediocrity lies beneath public indifference. The movement's most remarkable power remains invisibility. It acquired that power honestly. There is a better path for men who sense the softness of the age and genuinely want to become capable of bearing weight. Begin by refusing self-appointment. Do not call yourself an aristocrat. Become the man whose absence creates a measurable problem. Let responsibility select you. Let other people's trust supply the title, if a title ever becomes necessary. Place yourself where consequences can answer your claims. Take charge of something small enough to fail in public. A household will do, so will a workshop, a parish project, or a crew responsible for an unpleasant task. Remain long enough for novelty to wear off. The first weeks will reveal little. Many men perform leadership beautifully while attention remains upon them. The real judgment begins during the dull middle, after applause has gone home and the chairs still need stacking. Can you keep your word when nobody remembers the promise? Can you absorb inconvenience without advertising sacrifice? Can you correct a subordinate without feeding upon his embarrassment? Can you receive correction without turning the room into a trial? Authority grows inside these moments. Human beings are made in the imago Dei. This means that our vocation is neither passive obedience nor theatrical domination. We are sub-creators. We receive a world we did not make, then shape its materials through ordered love. Every legitimate authority participates in this pattern. The carpenter receives timber. He does not create the tree. Yet through attention, discipline, and craft, he reveals a form hidden within the material. The work becomes useful. It shelters life. The finished thing carries the mark of a mind governed by purpose. Leadership follows a similar course. A leader receives people he did not create and circumstances he did not choose. He cannot treat either as raw material for his self-image. Stewardship requires him to discover what each person can bear, what the moment demands, and what order might serve the common good. A vitalist sees hierarchy and asks who stands above. A steward asks who bears responsibility. The difference can appear small in language. In practice, it separates a household from a cult. A Christian conception of authority begins beneath authority. Christ kneels to wash feet. This scene has been sentimentalized so often that its force can be missed. The Lord does not surrender his rank. He reveals what divine rank means. Power descends into service without ceasing to be power. The towel does not cancel the crown. It discloses the crown's purpose. Modern people tend to divide authority from service. One camp fears command and reduces leadership to therapeutic affirmation. The other camp despises service and reduces leadership to domination. Both have forgotten the image of a king kneeling freely because nothing about his identity can be threatened by humility. Vitalism recoils from this image because it mistakes humility for weakness. Yet only a secure man can kneel without feeling diminished. The insecure man must defend his altitude every hour. He suspects that any act of service will reveal him as ordinary. So he remains upon his homemade throne. Nobody brings him a kingdom. Ordered love supplies the foundation that vitalism lacks. Augustine teaches that virtue depends upon loving things according to their proper worth. A man becomes disordered when he loves his own image more than truth, rank more than duty, or victory more than the people victory was meant to protect. Such a man may possess enormous energy. Energy alone does not constitute vitality. A house fire also has energy. True vitality arises when power serves a fitting end. Courage protects the good. Discipline makes vocation possible. Wealth supports households and worthy work. Political authority secures peace so ordinary people can pursue lives of dignity. Remove the fitting end and every virtue begins to rot. Courage becomes recklessness. Discipline becomes vanity. Hierarchy becomes theater. Strength becomes the ability to make weaker people afraid. The Christian need not tremble before such counterfeits, nor should he answer them with pious evasions. The age does suffer from softness. Christians have often become timid. Many churches have confused niceness with holiness, and procedural caution with prudence. This deserves correction. Yet we should never allow a sound diagnosis to smuggle in a diseased anthropology. Man is not perfected through self-creation. He is perfected through participation in the good. Greatness is received as vocation, tested through sacrifice, and made visible through its fruits. The tree may speak endlessly about its aristocratic sap. We still wait for fruit. This gives Christians a practical standard for judging every movement that promises strength. Look at what gathers around it. Do people become steadier? Do households become more secure? Does work improve? Are dependents protected? Can disagreement occur without exile? Does authority survive the leader's bruised vanity? These are modest questions. They are also merciless. A fantasy can survive a debate. It has greater trouble surviving payroll, marriage, illness, and the maintenance schedule of a building. Power becomes real when it enters time. The leader returns next week. He remembers the task. He carries an obligation beyond the mood that created it. Through this patient repetition, trust condenses around him. Modern media hides this process because media rewards declaration. A man can announce a new order before lunch. He can design the emblem by dinner. By midnight, he is explaining why his followers betrayed him. Actual order grows quietly. It begins with governed attention. The noose returns toward its center. Appetite is placed beneath vocation. Speech becomes measured because words now affect people whose trust matters. The would-be ruler discovers that mastery of others is largely useless without mastery of himself. This kind of man may eventually possess authority. He may also become less interested in announcing it. There lies the paradox that self-coronation cannot comprehend. The closer a man approaches genuine greatness, the more clearly he sees the greatness of what stands above him. Responsibility expands his sense of proportion. He becomes harder to flatter because he knows the cost of error. He becomes easier to correct because consequences matter more than pride. He has begun to inhabit reality. The vitalist remains trapped inside a flattering story about himself. Nobody appointed the higher man. That is the central failure of vitalism. It promises selection without a selector. It promises rank without recognition. It promises command without followers. Its adherent can experience himself as a conqueror before persuading a neighbor to help move a sofa. The philosophy, therefore, attracts men who want the sensation of achievement without exposure to a competent judge. Real excellence requires the possibility of rejection. A man enters an arena where capable people can measure him. His work survives comparison or it does not. His judgment produces trust or it does not. His leadership gathers loyal people or it does not. No metaphysical vocabulary can reverse the verdict. The self-declared aristocrat refuses this arrangement. He appoints himself judge before presenting evidence. When the public declines to ratify the appointment, he declares the public unfit to vote. This is emotionally convenient. It is strategically ruinous. An elite must persuade enough people to recognize its stewardship. Even severe authority depends upon confidence. People must believe obedience will produce a tolerable tomorrow. They must see that power has acquired a purpose beyond the ruler's appetite. Vitalists rarely inspire that belief. They inspire amusement among ordinary men. They inspire caution among women. Among one another, they inspire subscriptions. The final joke is that vitalism recognizes many defects of modern life. It sees softness. It knows prestige has become detached from merit. It understands that civilization requires people capable of bearing weight. Then it selects its spokesman through self-nomination. No enemy could have designed a better filter. Every narcissist passes. Every bore arrives crowned. Every man with enough judgment to distrust the spectacle quietly leaves. The survivors announce themselves as a natural aristocracy. Nobody appointed them. Nobody follows them. Nobody beyond the enclosure knows their names. You do not have to take Vitalists seriously because they have confused the description of greatness with its possession. Their Superman remains invisible because human beings reveal rank through consequences. The Christian alternative is neither fear nor retreat. It is the calm possession of a richer account of human excellence. Shape matter well. Keep faith with those entrusted to you. Govern appetite. Accept correction. Build something that survives your moods. Bear responsibility until others can rest beneath it. This is stewardship. This is vocation. This is authority purified through service. Through such work, the Imago Dei becomes visible in craft, courage, and ordered love. Greatness does not require a marble avatar. It leaves a world more habitable than it found it. The Vitalist Superman has been expected for some time. He is still explaining his bloodline to a cashier.